What's good? It's your boy CJ Goodfella back with the Boxing Clinic. One time for the one time shout out to the LDBC. And today we talking about top 5 most skilled boxers today. Couple honorable mentions: Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. Very close, but had to cut somebody off the list. I think Keith Thurman has a very underrated boxing IQ. I think he's one of the most smart boxers of the day. I think he's right up there with Rigondeaux as far as IQ. Errol Spence, I think he's another dude with an underrated IQ and underrated skill level, but just not yet. Just not yet. I mean, I had to cut somebody off the list, but those guys just not yet. They're right there on the cusp of being on this list. I think they're the next two on this list, however you want to put them on there. Think they're amazing at making adjustments and doing little subtle things from round to round, especially Errol Spence, and being able to change the angles and shots that he fires from. But let's get into the list. Number 5, I have Gennady Golovkin. I think he's accomplished a lot in the sport of boxing, in my opinion. I think he, this is not like a pound for pound. This is just strictly on skill. And, a lot of people don't, see the skill level of Gennady Golovkin. Only reason that I don't have him on my pound for pound list is because he hasn't beat anybody worthy of being on the pound for pound list. I think his resume is weaker than a watered down drink at a hole in the wall bar in the neighborhood. That's just my opinion. But I never deny him the skill level, the IQ, and ability to adjust. I think he doesn't get those accolades that he deserves. I think he throws every punch good and textbook worthy. He could throw an uppercut with either hand. He could throw a left hook, a right hook, straight right hand. Got one of the best jabs in the business. Excellent at working the body. Excellent at cutting the ring off. You can see that's one of the fundamental things that's lacking in the sport of boxing nowadays, is the ability to cut the ring off, and he succeeds at that. Now, a lot of people say he doesn't move his head, but he moves his feet enough where he doesn't take enough punishment, in my opinion. But I think he's number 5 on the list overall. Number 4 is Guillermo Rigondeaux, for the simple fact that, he probably could be number 1. You could argue that he could be number 1. But the only reason I don't have him number 1 on this list is I don't think he's active enough for once, and I don't think he showed us the best Guillermo Rigondeaux yet. I think he hasn't fought the right opponent to bring the beast out the cage, and that's not his fault. He's not promoted right. Andre Ward said that he was number 1 pound for pound on his list, and I can see that. He's a very talented individual. Punches hard. Good boxing skills, good high IQ. Knock on him is he doesn't move his hands enough. He's very defensive, safety first type of fighter, but I think he's going to bring out the right fighter to make him that offensive juggernaut that I've seen him, be in the amateurs before. On some video footage, but a lot of guys don't want to fight him. I think number 3 on my list is Vasily Lomachenko. I like him as well. He can be easily number 1, but I think we have yet to see the best of him yet. I think we haven't seen him versus the right opponent as well. I know he made with Nicholas Walters quit, who was this crazy guy who was knocking everybody out. Great jab, Nicholas Walters. Very, very inactive, but, I think he learned a lot from coming off the loss to Orlando Salido. I learned that I think Salido humbled him a little bit, and I think he got better from that, for beating Gary Russell. I think when he fought the Sosa kid, he's on the uprise. I think he's the ability to be able to be safety first and be able to be offensive and still not get hit too much, I think, is amazing. And I think we have yet to see the best of him yet. Like I said, I like his punch variety as well. I like the way he moves his hand. He's very offensive, great footwork, great boxing movement, great at that. And I think number 2 is Terrence Crawford. I gave him a lot of flack in the past. But, he's been in some meaningful fights. He hasn't had that 50-50 great, career-defining fight, but he's only 28 years old. And I think he's training upwards towards welterweight to taking that belt off of Jeff Horn. Jeff me so horny. And no, Jeff Horn is not on the list, but he's amazing. Switch hitter, good boxer. Only knock on him and get hit a little bit too much, but he's offensive now. He can get away with it until he gets up there with the big boys at welterweight. But, excellent jab. Very offensive, and he can be safety first and be defensive minded as well. And number 1, not too much explanation. Andre Ward, a lot of people hate on Andre Ward, but the skill is there. My guy basically took 3 years off fighting subpar competition on and off long gaps in between that, and still able to go out there and dominate the number one light heavyweight in a division and move up and dominate him after long layoffs and not being his fast, twitchy prime self, and still being able to dominate the division, after, losing a step or two and still taking time off. He's very, a very great fighter. I think he's number one. You got to give him his just due. This your boy CJ Goodfellow with the Boxing Clinic. We gone.